Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. So you're all now in the know. So one of the it's gone for a few days, and one of my pictures up here fell when I was gone. And on its way down, apparently it hit like four other things, including the sash. And I can't remember if the sash used to be here or here. I guess I could go back and watch old videos to figure out if it's there or here. But it's throwing me off because it looks out of place right there. So maybe that's not where it goes. I can't remember. But yeah, I still have to put a few things up. I've got them right next to me over here. But yeah, no, I came back and I was like, everything looks kind of weird in this corner. And then all of a sudden I realized that a lot of things had fallen. This was not. Oh, that is different. Okay. I'm just freaking myself out now. Ooh. All right, so today we're going to be doing a recap of this past weekend's Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend, aka the Dumbo Double Dare 19.3 miles 2026 plus the 5K. And also kind of doing a recap of the Disneyland weekend just on its own, because this was I don't know when I'm going to go back to Disneyland, and it's kind of sad. Not kind of, it's extremely sad. Hey Christine, how you doing? Yeah, so let's do it. Let's do a quick little recap here before we get into the show. So a few years ago, we have technical problems. A few years ago, they stopped doing the Run Disney races because the current mayor, not the current, but the old mayor of Anaheim and Disney were kind of in a little feud. And so he stopped allowing Disney to have people running on the roads of Anaheim. And when that happened, they closed down Run Disney, and we weren't sure when it was ever going to come back. And 2 years ago, Run Disney in Disneyland finally came back, and I was insanely happy because I had not been there in like 6 years, I want to say, since they had closed it down. And they brought it back because we had a new mayor in Anaheim, and she loves Disney and said, I want to bring back the Run Disney races because she used to run them. And then we got the Run Disney races back, and then now they're going away again. And this time it's because of the construction going on at Disneyland. There's a lot of construction going on right now. And I'm hoping that once all that construction is done, we will be back at Disneyland races. But at the same time, I'm a little nervous because, yeah, Disney. I love going to Disneyland, and I go out there for at least I've always gone out there for 2 race weekends. I used to go out for the Star Wars Half Marathon Weekend, and I used to always go out for the Avengers Half Marathon Weekend. And then both of those disappeared, and now they brought back the Dumbo Double Dare Weekend, which is the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend. And they also created the Halloween Half Marathon Weekend. And so it's been really nice for the last 2 years to really enjoy Disneyland again. And now they're like, haha, no longer, suckers. He sounds grumpy. Yes, he does sound grumpy. How long will they be gone for? All we know right now is the Run Disney race is going to be done out there until the construction is complete for things like Avengers Campus and the Coco Ride and Pandora. There's a lot of different construction projects going on, mainly at California Adventure. So we have to wait for all those things to be done before we get the races back. And I'm hoping that I can make a trip out there even without a Run Disney race weekend going on, because I think I'm going to miss Disneyland a lot. And also, it's kind of chaotic going out there during a race weekend because I'm trying to enjoy my vacation, but at the same time, I also have to get to bed early to get ready for the race and all the other fun stuff. Okay, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get this party started. We're going to start the 859th episode of the Wednesday show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 859th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is February 4th, 2026, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be doing a recap of the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend that just happened this past weekend out in Anaheim. But of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. So first off, just a little bit of Disney news happened yesterday. Bob Iger has officially announced that he will be stepping down as CEO on March 18th, and Josh D'Amaro will be taking his place. If you don't know who Josh D'Amaro is, then you've clearly not been on Instagram or Facebook in the last 24 hours, because apparently every human being who's ever existed has a picture with this man, myself included. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone on Instagram or Facebook in the last 24 hours, and that's the first thing you see is just a picture of Josh D'Amaro with some random person next to him. I'm guilty too. As soon as I heard the news about 8 minutes after they announced it, and I posted a thing on my Instagram story and was like, yeah, the new CEO. So Josh D'Amaro has done a lot of stuff with the parks throughout the last 28 years, and I am optimistic for what's going to happen. I'm hoping that he's going to bring a lot of great changes to the Disney company for the better. And at the same time, I'm very fully prepared to understand that it is a business. As much as we all love Disney and we all feel like we have a very personal connection to Disney, it still is a business, and I'm very well aware that it is a business. And I know that he will be making changes that a lot of people will still not be happy about, because they think that Disney is just a place for them to go and have fun, and for the company not to make a profit, when in reality they make a profit. So yeah, I'm excited to see what changes he's going to have. He has a lot of good interests that align with my interests, so that makes me happy that maybe he'll be pioneering the paths to different things like the Muppets. I know he's a Muppets fan, and yesterday, another bit of news, or actually I guess today, the Muppet Show has returned with one episode and one episode only. So if you are a Muppet fan like myself, then what you should do is you should have it so you go and watch that episode of the Muppet Show over and over and over and over and over again. That way we get more Muppet Show. I'm not kidding. There's been like 20 times where I've streamed it today where I will literally turn it on and walk out of the room just to have it so it gets one more view. And hopefully Disney will say, you know what? There's some people, maybe just one guy in Orlando, who's watching the show a lot. Let's at least make a second episode. So a lot of amazing, crazy, cool things happening over the last 24 hours in the Disney company. And also, let's talk a little bit about this. If you did not know, every single Saturday we do a Saturday in the park. Every single Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, we do a live broadcast from someplace on throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we're going to be coming to you from, but I promise you we will always be coming to you live from Disney. We did miss this past Saturday, and I do apologize because I did not think about it until it was Sunday. And we did do a broadcast on Sunday instead. Let's take a look at our starting off at 9,193 subscribers. If we can get to 9,200 by the end of the evening, I don't know, I'll be happy. So bring a little happiness to me. Send over 7 friends. Okay. And as always, tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. If you are one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. Okay, so tonight we're going to be doing a recap of the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026. Okay, so if you guys have joined us in the past, we're not going to go through my entire life story about Run Disney, but you guys probably do know that I've done about 200, probably more than that, I'm not even sure. I have to go back and count, 200 Run Disney races throughout the last almost 20 years now. I did my first Run Disney race in 2007, which was the Walt Disney World Full Marathon. Since then, I've done I've done every single race weekend that they've had here in Walt Disney World, and then I've done most of the ones that are found in Disneyland. As we were saying at the start of the show before we started going into our whole introduction, Disneyland brought back their races back in 2024 with the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend, and then they brought up another weekend. This is going to be the third Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend since it came back, and unfortunately, it is also the last one until construction is complete over in Disneyland. So what we're going to do tonight, as usual, is we're going to go through a recap of what the course looks like. We're going to have some visuals up on board. We will also have it so all the characters that we met on course will be on there too. I did have the opportunity to meet every single character on course unless they were swapping out. For instance, at one point we'll get to where we met Goofy and Max, or I met Goofy and Max, and one of my friends who started it earlier, Corel, than me, he had the opportunity to meet Donald and Daisy. So those are going to be the only differences that we really had on the course. Besides that, I did have the opportunity to meet every single character on course. In addition to all of that, we will be going through and answering your questions about Disneyland as well, because we did have it. So it was a vacation in addition to all of the races. So let's get this party started. First off, you will be going through, we're going to introduce the prime suspects, not the prime suspects, but the prime stars that we had with me during this race weekend. As always, I was joined by Frank, who does the majority of the race weekends with me. Every now and then he cannot make it down here. We're out to Disneyland for a specific race weekend. But most of the time, I would say 75%, 80%, maybe even 90% of the time, I do have Frank with me during these race weekends. In addition to that, our friend Catherine, who I have been friends with for 22 years now, which is insane. Her and I were friends on the college program. She has gotten into Run Disney over the last few years. She's done a lot of the races with us as well. She appears in a few different pictures, not all the pictures. I think this might be 2 or 3 pictures. And then my other friend, Randy, I've been friends with Randy for 14 years now, or 14 years later on this year. And we got her into Run Disney about a year and a half ago. We got her to run the W.E.D.nesday Half Marathon, and then she ran this race weekend last year. And now she's back to try to get her very first ever Coast to Coast Challenge medal. And so she did this weekend, and then she's also going to be doing another weekend in the very near future. So at the very start of the weekend, as always, we went over to the expo. This time the expo is found at the Disneyland Hotel, and we got our shirts. The other ones are all in the laundry. So this is the Dumbo Double Dare shirt. This is going to be for completing the half marathon and the 10K for a total of 19.3 miles. In addition to our shirts, we also got our bibs. So the 5K, obviously themed around joy from inside out. And then our challenge bib is the Dumbo Double Dare. So that is our Dumbo Double Dare bib there. So went over to the expo, did that. We went through and we took a look at some of the merchandise. We had a few different merchandise items that we were really looking at. My friend Catherine said, just walk around with it. And whatever you decide to buy, that's what you should buy. And then she said other words of wisdom, which was, you can always buy it. And then if you want to, you can return it later on. And I was very tempted. And then I realized I don't think I want these things. So I almost purchased a Run Disney hat, which said the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend on it. The mainly reason I was going to buy it was because on this part right here, it had the Disneyland 70th logo. And then I realized I didn't really like the hat. And then the other one I bought, or that I almost bought, but I did not buy, was the baseball jersey. They had a baseball jersey that looked like the Run Disney logo. It had the 70th on there, all this other stuff. It was a pretty cool baseball jersey. And then I was like, I don't know how often I'm going to be wearing it. I do have one baseball jersey, which is for the Milwaukee Brewers, and I only wear that during baseball season. And there's not really a running season where I would be wearing the other one. So I decided not to do it. So that all happened on Thursday. In addition to that, Wednesday night, last Wednesday, we went through and we did a broadcast here. My friend Frank and I went through and we did 13 attractions on Wednesday night. On Thursday, I woke up early. I went to the park and I knocked out, I think it was 16 rides or 17 rides that day. And we can pull up our little stat sheet so we can figure out exactly how many rides I did every single day. So Disneyland on that first night, we went on, first off, I went on Dinosaur for my very last time on Wednesday morning before my flight. I really kind of risked it because I was on Dinosaur less than 2 hours before my flight was going to be boarding, but I was like, you know what, it's worth it. So when we got to Disneyland, we took you guys on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Snow White's Enchanted Wish, and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And then after that, we got some food. And then we went on the Jungle Cruise, the Adventureland Treehouse, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Pinocchio's Daring Journey, King Arthur Carousel, Mad Tea Party, Matterhorn Bobsleds, the Fantasyland side, Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, and Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Forbidden Eye. The following day, we went to both parks, Disneyland and California Adventure. And on that day, I did a total of 20 attractions. Wow. I went on Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue right when the park first opened. Then I did the Pixar Pale Around and Non-Swinging Gondolas. If you watched my YouTube video yesterday, that's from that. Then I did the Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. If you watched my video today, that was that. Then I went on the Silly Symphony Swings, Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, Luigi's Rollicking Road Tours, Mickey's PhilharMagic, The Sorcerer's Workshop, Warriors of Wakanda, The Disciples of the Dora, Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, Amazing Spider-Man Show, Radiator Springs Racers, Toy Story Midway Mania, and then I headed off to go to the expo with Catherine once she arrived. And then we went on Disneyland Railroad, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Casey Jr. Circus Train, Peter Pan's Flight, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Autopia before we headed off for the evening. Is Big Thunder the same there? So Big Thunder is the exact same track, but a mirrored image. So for instance, here, it's the load on both sides. And then when you first go into the tunnel, you hang a left and then you hang a quick right. Over there, it's hang a right and then quick left. And then you go up the hill and the cave on both sides. On Disneyland's version, all the Rainbow Caverns on your left-hand side. In Walt Disney World, they're all on the right-hand side. And then you go down and you go to the right-hand side in Disneyland, on the left-hand side in Disney World. So everything is the exact same track. It's just a complete mirrored image. The only difference is there's different things to look at while you're on the track. So over there, they do have the famous goat with dynamite in his mouth. In addition to that, at the very end, you have a completely different little town scene at the end. Overall, I do love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad on both coasts, but it was really, really good to ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad once again in Disneyland because it's been closed here since January 6th or 7th of last year, and it's been killing me because it's one of my favorite attractions. Okay, so that brings us up to the morning of the 5K. Ooh, I don't know why it's spooky. Okay, so let's start off by taking a look at how, where's it at? How the course, the 5K is probably one of the most unique and one of the most amazing. I don't know why it's showing the traffic there. One of the most unique and one of the most amazing courses that you will ever experience in your entire life. Can we get rid of this? Oh, no, wait a minute. No. Let's get rid of this. Maybe we can't. I don't know how. I figured it out earlier and now. Okay, let's just figure those out. Okay, so the 5K actually starts off in Disneyland Park. So races that are here where they all start off in the Epcot parking lot. This one starts right in front of the castle. So right here is going to be the castle. The starting line is going to be right here. So you start off by going up the parade route. Can we get rid of this stuff? Let's try to figure this out here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. We're going to figure this out or we'll cry trying. Okay, satellite. And then there's the labels. Ha. Brent 1, labels 0. Okay, so you start off here, you run up past the Matterhorn. That's going to be the Matterhorn right here. This over here is going to be the Mad Tea Party. And you continue going until you eventually go backstage over here. After you go backstage, you run up and around this building right here until eventually we made our way down here. We circled around back this building and we came back through the backstage area until we came on stage over here by the Millennium Falcon. So if you are used to Disney World compared to Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge is inside of Disneyland Park. So it'd be like having it inside of the Magic Kingdom. So just put in perspective, this is going to be Dumbo over here. This is Galaxy's Edge. This is going to be Big Thunder Mountain Railroad right here. And again, this is Galaxy's Edge. So we entered in over here, and over here we got our first character spot. We're going to go through all the character spots in just a few minutes here, but this over here was where Chewbacca was. We ran down through this area and then eventually made our way into Frontierland, which is going to be right over here. We hung a left. It's a right from where we're looking at, but it's a left when you're running. And we made our way into Fantasyland, where right around here was mile marker number 1. We went. Did we go around the carousel this way, or we went down this way? I think we went down this way. Doesn't really matter, but we came down this way until eventually we went through the castle and we saw all those people that were still waiting to start, which is a great feeling, by the way. I absolutely loved that part of the course. Eventually, we made our way over into Adventureland, which is going to be down over here. And from Adventureland, we made our way past Pirates of the Caribbean, which is this building right here, into New Orleans Square, and then eventually we made our way up by Tiana's Bayou Adventure until eventually we made our way back into Galaxy's Edge. Up here we had yet another character meet and greet, and then we swung around until eventually we went backstage on this road over here. So we were on backstage for quite some time until eventually we weren't. So we would go all the way down to about over here, where we would run back on stage, and from here we would run across the promenade until eventually we'd make our way into California Adventure. Again, if you are a Disney World person and you really can't comprehend this, because I don't think you can fully comprehend it until you're actually there, this is the entrance to Disneyland. This is the entrance to California Adventure. This is about the length of a football field apart from one another, just to give you kind of a perspective of how close these two parks are. So we entered into California Adventure through the main entrance until eventually we ran down Hollywood Boulevard. We would take a right down over here by the theater, and then we ran into Avengers Campus, which is down over here. So this is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy right here. We ran into Avengers Campus, and then we ran through the entire area until we made a left up here, and we ran up into Pixar Pier. Once we got up to Pixar Pier, we ran around the pier. It was going to be the entrance for the Incredicoaster, and we would continue running through the pier until eventually we would get right up here, and right up here was going to be where our finish line for the entire course is. At the end of all of that, we receive our 5K medal. Ooh. So here's our 5K medal with Joy on the front. We do have a few things that move. We got that one right there moves. This one right down here moves as well. On the back side there, it does say the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026. Celebrate the happiest place on earth. Overall, I really, really, really like the medal here. Okay, so let's cut over to take a look at our characters that we met on this course. Did I accidentally close that out? No, I didn't. So where are you? Oh, wait, maybe I did. I think I did. So let's open this up. I did. I accidentally closed it out, but now we've got it open again. Okay, so here are going to be our characters for the 5K. Starting off with Chewbacca. Chewbacca was the first character that we came across as soon as we entered into Galaxy's Edge. Up by Tiana's Bayou Adventure, we had Tiana in her Bayou outfit and Louis the alligator. So if you watch my videos, I was flying. I was very happy with my 5K and my 10K. I was happy with my half marathon time too. But for the 5K and the 10K, I was feeling so good that I did feel kind of bad because I left my friends pretty much both races. Not pretty much both races. I just completely left them. I was the first person to meet Chewbacca, and the cast member said I was the fourth, or I can't remember if it was the fourth or the fifth person to meet Tiana and Louis over here. After entering into Galaxy's Edge the second time, we had Chopper there from Star Wars Rebels. This one I was extremely excited about because I love Star Wars Rebels. Eventually, when we got into California Adventure, we had Mickey and Minnie. Now, one of the things that I do not like about the Run Disney races in Disneyland is there are a lot of spots that are selfie spots. So Chewie was a selfie spot, Mickey and Minnie was a selfie spot, and we're going to get to one more in just a second here, right there. So up here we had Captain America, and then we also had Black Widow, which you can't even see who they are. I still always stop every single time. Like, she's up there posing, but they're so far away. It's kind of disappointing. We've only had it 2 times during these Run Disney races in Disneyland where they've had the characters for in Adventures Campus, actually out doing meet and greets. The half marathon was one of those times, so stay tuned. In addition to that, we had Woody and Jesse. This is going to be Toy Story Mania right behind us here. And then right at the finish line, like literally like maybe 0.2 miles from the finish line, we had Joy there. And this one, again, character line was non-existent. So it was actually very cool to kind of go through and experience this entire race, because I just kind of was going through and flying, and I was very, very, very happy with my time. I'm still very, very happy with my time on the 5K and the 10K. Let's move on. You know what? Before we get to the 10K, let's do our recap for what we did on the for the attractions on that day, which was this one we did not do as much. So I did Jesse's Critter Carousel, which I do really enjoy. My friends had never experienced the Walt Disney A Magical Life, so we did that one. We did Space Mountain. Space Mountain line took forever, but at the same time, it's a great ride. Matterhorn bobsleds, again, we got the Fantasyland side. Alice in Wonderland, and then we went over to California Adventure, where we did Jesse's Critter Carousel a second time for the day. The first time was with just myself. The second time, all of us. And then we did the Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind for my second time during the trip. And I also watched the Mulan's Lunar New Year procession. Okay, so let's get to the 10K here. Now, the 10K course is going to be a little bit different than that amazing course, 5K. So unlike where we start on Disney property, this time we actually start off of Disney property. Actually, this parking lot over here is going to be the staging area for the entire 10K and the half marathon experience. Right here is where the porta potties are. You know, important to use them before the race. And also to kind of give you a perspective, we stayed right here. Actually, is that right there? No, we stayed here. We stayed, if you watch my stories, we stayed at the Castle Inn and Suites, which is this building right here. And if you watch my Instagram stories, you probably saw me talking a lot about these two roofs right here. These are just two random roofs with patio furniture on it by the pool. And we were walking. We stayed on the 4th floor over here. And I saw them. I was like, does anyone ever use that? And Frank's like, I guarantee no one does. And I was like, well, I'm going to be the first person to use them. And I was up there. And sure enough, one day, because I was up there waiting for Frank to get ready. Okay, so anyways, you come over here. The starting line is going to be right here. Also, a very different experience than at Walt. And I only saw them during, I can't remember if it was the 10K or the half marathon. I think it might have been the half marathon. Completely different experience than Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World, you have it till everyone's going through security checks. Same thing here, but unlike Disney World, this is the streets of Anaheim. Like, this is literally the streets of Anaheim. So they actually have snipers up here. Like, they actually have hired police up here making sure for additional security threats, which is kind of, I mean, you know you're safe, but at the same time, it's kind of crazy because at Disney World, you don't have people on the roofs like that. All right, so the race starts right here. For the 5K, or I'm sorry, for the 10K, we did start in Corral A. So I had, like I said, an amazing time. I was going faster than lightning. Ka-chow. So we started here. We ran down the street until eventually we came down and we took a left, and then we took a right. So this is going to be where that 7-Eleven was. If you watch my one video, I said, like, hey, maybe I'll get a Slurpee. You run along the road, all the backside of California Adventure over here. And then we hung a right here to Disney Way until eventually, in the past, we've gone up this road right here, but not this time because of the construction that's going on. Instead, we ran up here and we entered into the backstage area of the park, and we came all the way down until eventually we made our way to, where was it at? We made our way here, and we came up until we entered into the park over by Radiator Springs. We entered into Radiator Springs over by Radiator Springs Racers and Flo's V8 Cafe until main road in Radiator Springs, where we took a left. Over here, we did have a character meet and greet spot. We ran up until eventually we took a left. We ran up and around Pixar Pier once again until eventually we just kind of did a giant loop over by the area where you've got Grizzly River Run and all that other fun stuff. So this is going to be the Little Mermaid attraction. We went up here, we ran around this area, and then eventually made our way to the front of the park. Once we got up here, we went into Adventures Campus once again, and then we circled around and went past Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which is this building right here, and then circled onto Hollywood Boulevard, and then exited the park through the front of the park until eventually we made our way up into Disneyland. Once we entered into Disneyland, we ran around Town Square, we ran down Main Street, USA, and at the end of Main Street, USA, which way did we go this day? We took a left. I want to say we took a left. I'm all of a sudden drawing a blank. I thought I was going to remember this whole thing, but now I'm drawing a blank. Yes, we took a left. We entered into Adventureland, and then eventually we made our way into Edge. We ran around Galaxy's Edge through this area until eventually we came out by Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and then over by Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. I'm remembering all now. Okay, then over by Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, we took our left over by the Golden Horse to the main area again. So we took a left here. We came out over here. We ran in front of the castle until eventually we entered over into Tomorrowland. Over by Tomorrowland, we hung a left. We ran around Big Thunder, or not Big Thunder Mountain, that's the Matterhorn. We ran around the Matterhorn until eventually we made our way into Fantasyland once again, where we looped up to the other side of Galaxy's Edge. After going around Galaxy's Edge, we entered into the park over by Mickey's Toontown, and from there we ran past It's a Small World until we got to the backstage area. From the backstage area, we hung a right. We ran along the backside of the road here, and after you go under that bridge, you come out on the other side, and we entered onto the streets of Anaheim once again. And once we were there, we did a little U-turn shuffle, and we finished at the finish line, which is going to be inside of this parking lot. Along this course, or not along this course, let's get to our medal. We would get our 10K medal, which I really, really love. This is going to be, oh, it didn't close out. This is going to be our 10K medal with Sorcerer Mickey there and the broom behind him as well. I really, like I said, really, really like this. Mickey is on a spring, so he does a little dance there. Then on the back there, again, we have it says, Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend, celebrate the happiest race on Earth. Overall, really, really love this medal. So this time around, we did have it so Frank was catching up with me, or he stuck around with me for a while. We did go through, we met the first few characters together. We have Cruz Ramirez and Lightning McQueen there. Then we had Woody and Buzz Lightyear, followed by Luca and Alberto Silencio Bruno. I did love meeting these two characters, even though you don't really get a chance to really talk to them. If you ever watch my videos and you see it's like, I always say, hey guys, or hey Luca, or this time I said, hey Silencio Bruno. And then it's like, okay, you're good. Thanks guys. That's literally the entire interaction you get with these characters, which is fine, because if you were not doing that sort of interaction, not everyone would have the opportunity to go through and meet these characters. After this character meet and greet, I did lose Frank. So we got up here. This is going to be Loki. Again, very, very difficult to see. We also had Scarlet Witch. Again, very difficult to see. Eventually, we made our way into Galaxy's Edge, and we had Ray up here. And after Ray, when we got into the country, or over by the Golden Horseshoe in Frontierland, we had some country bears out there as well. We would eventually make our way into Fantasyland, and when we got to Fantasyland, we did have Merlin. I was very excited about this one, but again, I don't like the fact that we have it so it's like the selfies, because it makes the lighting more difficult, because you can barely see that that's Merlin. I mean, you can tell it's Merlin, but you can't really see that it's Merlin in the background, and I don't like that. In Galaxy's Edge, once again, we had Kylo Ren along with some stormtroopers there. And then when we entered into Toontown, we had Minnie Mouse and Pluto there to finish up our characters for 10K. Overall, a lot of great characters for the 10K, a lot of great characters overall for all of the races so far. But we're going to have to get to our next race, which is going to be our half marathon. Now, so for the half marathon, we did have things a little bit different. Unlike the 5K and the 10K where we started in Corral A, this time around we started in Corral D. Now, there is some pluses and minuses to being in earlier corrals versus further back corrals. And the main one is the character lines. The character lines are going to be longer the further back you start. And that's why I always try to get as quickly as possible out of that start line so I can go through and meet as many characters as possible against those character lines, while the character lines are going to be as low as possible. And when you start in Corral D, it does get a little worrisome, especially since Frank started in Corral D and then Catherine and Randy started in Corral E this time around. So I was 99% positive that Catherine and Randy would catch up to me at some point, and as you will see in the pictures, they did. And I was also kind of nervous because Frank was going through and he's like, "Hey, I'm skipping this line. It's way too long." And I was like, "Wait a minute." Do I have to skip the lines too? Because I don't want to skip any characters. Will I skip characters? Find out soon. Well, right now. Again, we started off over here. That's going to be the starting line on the backstage area here. I will like to point out before we actually get into this race that I do not know the entire course once we get to the streets of Anaheim, because I don't know the streets of Anaheim. So I'm going to tell you what I remember, and then you guys can figure out the rest. Okay, so we started here. We went around the entire thing until eventually we made our way all the way around and entered into the park over by Radiator Springs / Cars Land once again. Oh my gosh, what just happened? Get rid of that. Oh, now they gave us things. Okay, so he entered around and we around this entire area until eventually, oh no, I don't want to have that. Oh my gosh, heavy traffic in the area. Okay, we don't care about the heavy traffic. Okay, so we would eventually run around Pixar Pier until we would eventually make our way once again up by Grizzly River Run. We would go past Soarin' Around the World and into Avengers Campus. Once we ran around Avengers Campus, oh my gosh. We don't want this information, people. Google. We would eventually make our way to Hollywood Boulevard, and then we would leave the park and head over to Disneyland. This time around, instead of running to the left, we took a right here and went into Tomorrowland right off the bat. We ran around the Matterhorn until eventually we made our way up to the backstage area of It's a Small World. Once we ran around backstage for a while, we ran along this way, and then we kind of hung around here. We got into Mickey's 2 Town. Over there, we had a character spot. We're going to get to that character in just a little bit here. And then we passed the 4-mile mark. The 4-mile mark was at a spot where you are running past people who are coming from the spot that you already were. Huge, huge, huge advantage when you are, you can see people coming from behind you. It gives you like a huge sigh of relief, especially for someone like me who is trying to meet every single character on course. Eventually, we would enter into Fantasyland, and over by Dumbo, we had the longest wait that I had of the entire race, but also the one that was the most satisfying. Again, we're going to get to that in just a few minutes here. We ran through the castle until eventually we hung a left into Frontierland. From Frontierland, we ran around. We ran past the Pirates of the characters, past the Haunted Mansion, past Tiana's Bayou Adventure until eventually we made our way into Galaxy's Edge. We ran throughout all of Galaxy's Edge until we passed the Millennium Falcon, and we ran backstage. Oh my gosh. After we ran backstage, we passed the spot that we had entered in earlier when we were over here. Again, it was really nice to see people coming in still. And then we went up past the Team Disney building. Once we went past the Team Disney building, we hung around here, past the cast place, and we went on to Ball Street. While we were on Ball Street, we ran and we ran and we ran. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know where else we ran to. So the last like 7 miles, you're just out on the streets of Anaheim. If you don't know the streets of Anaheim, like I don't know the streets of Anaheim, I know how to get to Disneyland from the hotels, and that's about it. It's very painful. And it's one of those where I can understand the people who go and do Disneyland races. If you are familiar with those streets, it's very nice. It's very calm. It's very relaxing because you know exactly where you're going. Just like when I'm here on Disney property, I know all the streets like the back of my hand. I'm on them every single day. So it's very easy for me to be able to navigate and say, okay, I'm about half a mile away from this point, or I'm going to pass like 3 street signs until I get to the next turn. It's very easy for me to navigate here and know exactly what's going to go through, and it doesn't make me get nervous at all. While out in Anaheim, I get a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know exactly where I am compared to the finish line besides the mile markers. And at least I have a pretty good understanding of how my body works and how my pace is working, that I can kind of have an idea of like, okay, it's going to be roughly, you know, half a mile until I actually reach into the next, mile marker. So after finishing the half marathon, we got our 3 medals. Now let me explain. So our first one is going to be It's a Small World. It's a small world after all. So this is going to be our half marathon medal, which I personally love. The only thing I do not like about this medal is before the race, they went through and they showed us so many different clips of It's a Small World being created. The last verse with Richard Sherman sharing the last verse and singing It's a Small World. All these different small world things. It was really, really entertaining. The thing I didn't like is Small World is down right now because it just finished up the holiday thing. So having an entire race themed around an attraction that's not even open, terrible idea, because all I wanted to do was ride Small World. And unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to ride Small World until I came back here yesterday and I rode Small World. That was one of the first things I rode after the people mover, obviously. Were there a lot of spectators on the streets? There was a ton. There was a lot of people who were out there cheering us on, which was really nice. In addition to the half marathon medal, we also got our Dumbo Double Dare medal, the 19.3 on there. This one does fly back and forth. Also, it is important to note that if you look behind here, you can see that it is the 70th. It is the 70th anniversary still going on at Disneyland. So all of the medals do have a 70 that's in the background, with the exception of the next medal, which is my favorite medal of them all. And that is going to be the one for completing the Dopey Challenge here in Walt Disney World at the start of January. And now this is going to be our Coast to Coast medal. And I love it. We got the partner statue in the middle. We got Sleeping Beauty Castle and Cinderella Castle here. Mickey and Minnie do move back and forth so they can run between the two parks for Coast to Coast. And what I really like is on the other side, you have the logo for Disneyland and the logo for Disney World there. Just really, really cool medals. So on the half marathon course, the rules of characters in Disney World are a little bit different than the rules for characters in Disneyland. So in Disneyland, you can go through and you can have it so in Disney World, you can have characters out on the streets because you're still on Disney property. In Disneyland, as soon as you leave the park or as soon as you leave on stage, they don't have any characters out. So the characters are more limited, which means that the half marathon's a little bit duller, with the exception of one character that you can meet outside the course. And as soon as we get to it, you'll understand why you can meet that character, of course. So there's not as many characters. All the characters are on the front part of the course. But the first character I met was Lightning McQueen and Mater. I know what you're thinking. Didn't you meet Lightning McQueen the day before? I did, but Mater was not with him. It was Cruz Ramirez. So this line was a little bit long. It wasn't too bad, but I would in this line. In the next line, it was Joy and Sadness there. Here are my friends, Catherine and Randy. They were able to catch up to me in this line because this was a very long line. I ran ahead to the next character, which was going to be Captain America. And they joined me in that line as well. We also had it so up here while we were waiting, we had, who was it? Oh, it was Captain Marvel and Iron Man were up there. In the next spot, they decided that they're not going to wait for any more characters. They're just going to keep on running the race. I don't know why you would do that because characters, hello. So I met Goofy and Max. This is going to be right across from where Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue is. Over in Tomorrowland, this is, again, a selfie-only spot. This was going to be Lilo and Stitch right here. In Toontown, we had Chip and Dale. And the next one is going to be the one that I think is one of the coolest ones. So they had Captain Hook and Smee were in line or they were the ones doing the meet and greets when I was running up to the line. In fact, if you watch my half marathon video, you'll actually hear me say, "Oh, Captain Hook's up here." And then if you watch that video, you'll also see Peter Pan and Wendy kind of sneaking up on Captain Hook and Smee. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I'll get both of them or which ones I'm going to get." but I want to get some of them. And I ended up being one of just a handful of people to get all of them. So the person in front of me, or maybe it was two people ahead of me, was the first person to get all four of them. Then, yeah, it was two people ahead of me got all four. Then the person in front of me, then me. And then when I was running away, I did hear them kind of start saying about how Captain Hook and Smear are going to have to go pretty soon. So it was pretty cool to have the opportunity to go through and meet all four of the characters. After that, we did have Captain Hook and Captain Red up here from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's going to be the entrance to Pirates of the Caribbean right behind me here. And then we had V along with Ray, both of them inside of Galaxy's Edge. And then the final character we met was actually out in the streets of Anaheim. Am I getting this right? I think there's the only one left. And that's because it is Wild Wing, who is the mascot for the Anaheim Ducks. So they always have it so there's a big celebration with the Anaheim Ducks out there on these streets of Anaheim, which I personally love. I just think it's a great way to kind of go through and have it so maybe people will become hockey fans and root for the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks. But overall, amazing characters out on the course. Had a great time from start to finish during all three races. Just knocked the pin down. Okay, let's do a recap real quick. If you guys have any questions, throw the questions out there, but we'll do a recap of the last attractions we did. I think I might have skipped a day. We did. We skipped. Okay, so Saturday. Oh, so Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday, we finished the race. We got some breakfast, and then we were waiting to get into the park because the park opened up at 8 o'clock. And we said, you know what? Out there in Disneyland, in order to book lightning lanes, you can't book lightning lanes in advance. You have to enter the park and then start booking your lightning lanes. So we got into the park specifically to try to get our lightning lanes before we actually started to go back and shower. And we entered in there. We booked our first lightning lane, which is for Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. And it was good for 9:20 or 9:20 or something like that, or 9:15. So we went in, we rope dropped Radiator Springs Racers. We all hopped in the single rider line because it goes a lot faster. So we did Radiator Springs Racers at 8:19. Then we did Web Slingers because there was just the four of us. And we said, hey, might as well go do the single rider. After that, we went on Frank and I were able to get the 9:10, I think it was 9:10, Guardians of the Galaxy lightning lanes. And then the two girls were having some problems with their passes, so they clocked in just a little bit after us. But they were able to get 10 o'clock. So Frank and I went at 9:10, and we did the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and then we headed out, and we got some sleep. And then also, while we were back at the room, I had it so my alarm was going off every 2 hours specifically so I could go through and book lightning lanes for us while I was also going through and editing the videos. Frank was like, I don't think people understand all the stuff that you do when you're out here, you're not sleeping. I was like, I don't think so either. I came back first. I went on the watched the Five and Dime, and then we did Toy Story Midway Mania, followed by Soarin' Around the World, Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure, Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, Monsters Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue, and then we went over to the Sorcerer's Workshop. After that, we went over and got some food and headed off to bed. On the first, which was Sunday, we did the same thing. We got over to the park. We made sure we walked in right away, and then we started just booking all of our lightning lanes. So eventually, we made our way back to the park. We did the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Was that really the first thing we did? Oh yeah, because we went over. We ate at the Hungry Bear restaurant. I'm just thinking, I was like, I thought we did a few more things first, but we did Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. That was cool because we actually had it 6 of us. Man and Lonnie, I don't know if they're watching right now. Man and Lonnie joined us too at the park for a little bit. So we had it. So it was me, Frank, Catherine, Randy, Matt, and Lonnie. All 6 of us had Smuggler's Run, which I've never had all 6 people together. I guess I have one other time. Then we did the Disneyland Railroad. We did that exactly at the time when we would be, Dinosaur was going to be closing here, specifically so we could go past and watch Dinosaurs at the same time when the last people on Dinosaur would also be passing Dinosaurs and Animal Kingdom. I was very, very sad. I was extremely sad that I was not here to see that, but at the same time, I'd already spent a lot of money to be out there. So I wish they would have coordinated so not both things would be on different coasts the same day. After the Disneyland Railroad, we went on Haunted Mansion, then Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Indiana Jones Adventure, Temple of the Forbidden Eye, Jungle Cruise starts. Oh, Jungle Cruise, we got evacuated from too. So we literally started, and if you've ever been on the Jungle Cruise out there, you know it's laid out completely differently. But the very first thing that you pass on the Jungle Cruise out there is the Bengal tiger. We got to the Bengal tiger, and the cast member started to do a joke, and then also like her radio went off, and then she goes, "Oh, here's some issues. We're gonna be sitting here for a few minutes." And then someone said, "Did someone fall off the boat?" And she said, "If someone fell off the boat, we'd start going backwards." And then all of a sudden, she got another call, and she goes, "Oh, we got to go backwards." So we're like, someone might have fallen off the boat. But it did count as a evac, so it was my first time ever being evacuated from Jungle Cruise out in Disneyland. Actually, first time at any Jungle Cruise. So I was very, very, very excited about that. After that, we went on Star Tours. The adventures continued. Then we watched Paint the Night Parade, and then Frank left us because he was getting tired, like a loser. So then we did it at Space Mountain, and then Randy left us because she was getting tired. So then Catherine and I decided to stick it out for the night because we're like, hey, we're here. We're young, kind of. Let's party it up. So we went on Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. Then we did Matterhorn bobsleds. We did the Tomorrowland side. And then we did Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And we got off of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at 10:59. Park closed at 11. And we said we can get back in line real quick. We ran, and we were the last two people in line. So we went on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad one more time. And then on the second, a.k.a. Monday, we went over there before we had to hop on our flights. And when we went out there, we did Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. We went through, we went on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Then we went inside of Mickey's house. And then the final thing we went on was Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster, which I think is hilarious that ended up being the last attraction I did in Disneyland. And we actually did try to go on Pirates of the Caribbean. The app said it was like a 5-minute wait. By the time we got over there, it was like a 25-minute wait. And then we said, well, you know what? We'll go on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad had a long wait. And we said, you know what? I guess we're not going to miss our flights, and we'll head out from here. So we left the park with Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster being the last attraction that I would do in Disneyland for who knows how long. I'm hoping I can get out there sometime again soon. I just don't know if I will or not. We'll see. Life is crazy. So yeah, that is our recap of Disneyland / the Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend. If anyone out there has any questions, throw the questions into the chat room. We'll give you guys a few minutes here to possibly throw any questions out there before we wrap this up. While we do that, let's check out our subscriber count. We started off at what is that? Oh. We started off at 9,109, and we are still at 9,193. So, oh, that is. Oh, it's an ant. I was like, what? There's an ant in here. I think I got it. Okay. No other questions out there? So I think we're going to be wrapping this bad boy up right here. As always, thank you everyone for joining us. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe. Let's close that out. Wait, close it. There we go. Yeah, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe. As always, thank you everyone out there for joining us. Tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us once again this week. Please keep on spreading the word about the Wednesday show and From Screen to Theme, and invite anyone and everyone to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Until next time, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I can't stand this kind of pressure. Jiminy